In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a 3-step strategy that will increase your chances to influence others, persuade others, communicate your message to others much more effectively in any situation you find yourself having to influence. It could be a meeting, it could be a presentation, it could be a job interview, it could be a situation where you're meeting somebody for the first time, or it could be even just having a conversation with your boss. These 3 steps are built around the idea of increasing the touch points or increasing the frequency in which you interact with somebody during one, we'll call it persuasion iteration. And the second part of it's built on the idea that a fundamental principle of communication is that in any communication that you have with another individual, there are always 2 factors at play. There's the relationship factor and the message factor. And the relationship factor serves as a filter that the message has to get through before people are receptive to what you have to say. Or another way of looking at this is that the stronger the relationship or rapport that you have with that individual, the greater the chance the message is going to really resonate, persuade, and influence that individual. And so these 3 steps are all about increasing your relationship or rapport with another individual by also increasing the number of touch points. And it's based on 3 forms of, we'll call it suasion. It's pre-suasion, persuasion, and post-suasion. Pre-suasion is all about building anticipation or creating initial rapport or enhancing initial rapport prior to the actual primary communication that you're going to have with that individual. It's everything you do in advance. It could be something like an anticipatory email where you send an email to an individual kind of outlining what to expect or what you're going to be talking about. So this is going to be doing 2 things. One is it's going to give them a little bit more information about what to expect, but it's also creating a touch point where you're connecting with that individual and you're showing through just the action or the behavior of sending that email in advance that you are really thinking about the situation where you are going to be actually communicating with that person in earnest. So this is the first step. So you can create an anticipatory email where you're saying to that individual that you're excited to speak with them or you're looking forward to speak to them about the following points. If you're giving a presentation, you could send a document in advance for the other individual to review that will give them a little bit more insight into what to expect for when the presentation occurs. Or if it's a job interview, for example, you could just send them a quick message stating, hey, I'm looking forward to speaking with you on Thursday. Really looking forward to it. Thank you very much for the time. Just a very short message. It's a touch point, but it's a form of pre-suasion, enhancing rapport before the actual act occurs. The second step is simply persuasion. That's where you use all your finely honed skills of influence, of communication to essentially convey what it is that you want to convey to that other individual, have an exchange of information with them, and ultimately use your persuasiveness, your sales techniques, and in many respects your charisma and your rapport to influence them to see things the way you want to, or perhaps take the actions that you want them to take. And you can develop that by just simply developing your public speaking and communication skills. And the third step is just simply post-suasion. It's the third touch point in this whole communication sequence. And post-suasion is simply communicating to the other individual or other individuals after the primary interaction has occurred, saying something like, oh, it's been great communicating with you, it was great speaking with you. And you can do that either by a follow-up email, a follow-up phone call, a follow-up text, or just perhaps sending them a document or some additional information. Any one of these strategies is a powerful way to essentially follow up from a presentation. If it is a job interview that you had, what you might consider doing is just sending a follow-up note to say thank you for your time. If you had a meeting with your boss or some colleagues, you could send another follow-up email with perhaps a summary of what it is that you just covered, as well as some perhaps additional documents that perhaps can build off of what you had in your primary persuasion time. So there you have it. 3 steps. Pre-suasion, before the primary form of communication. Persuasion, the communication that you have in the moment. And post-suasion, one last step of communication that increases your chance to leave a good impression, touch them one more time, and re-emphasize the message that you're trying to get across.